All right, so we're going to talk about a little defensive setup. Uh, Typically, the better defenses that I've run over the years have been four-man fronts. I'm not big on five-man, and I'm going to explain why in this video, why I prefer a four over or a five or a three, depending what you want to call it. So we're going to drop a basic. We're going to give you just tackle to tackle situation. Keep my drawing nice and simple. Um, so let's get to it. Let's say we got a Roger call, we got a strong right. How we align to that is it's very simple. It's very standard. We're going with a tackle, a shaded end, a shaded end, and this is where you have a decision to make. I prefer to go with a 2-eye over a 1-tech. However, I do have calls to align them differently because one, you may want two different types of players here. If you want to, again, depending what you want to do with your nose man. If you want them covering up a center, this might be a matchup situation. You might have a better, if depending on what you see on the offensive line, they may have a really young guard you can beat up, or they might be a strong pulling team. You might want to cover them. Different situations might make you want to call different things. I've run some different games in here with the tackles with some different alignments just to give them fits because offensive linemen love to know what they're going to see when they come to the line of scrimmage. They love to know what they're going to see week in, week out. So you want to be able to add an element, I don't want to say of surprise. You're not going to really shock anyone getting into a 1-tech over a 2-eye, but it may make a kid, might give them a struggle. You might have a mismatch there and you don't realize it till you get there on a Friday night. Often things on film can look a little different than they would look live. So it's good to get into some different things. And, I'm going with, for simplicity, I call this right here a 32. 3-tech, 2-eye, I call it 32. 22 would be two eyes. So it looks like that have been very useful. I'll call 11. 2 1-techs, and you're bum rushing. Maybe you got a game coming off the back. You're beating up that center pretty good. So different things like that is what I look for in games. But we're just talking alignment right now. I don't want to get too far ahead of things. So just looking at this, we have it end, nose, tackle, end. First and foremost, the absolute of this defense is containing the edge with these defensive ends right here. It is absolute. Again, I haven't been around too many other defensive coordinators, so I don't know if this is the primary teaching point of these guys. I don't know what other guys do. I watch other games, which is why I'm doing these videos, because I don't know what they're being coached to do. But you have to contain. If you can be a pretty average guy, you can have average speed, you can be average everything. And I'm not saying that it's okay, but you can be a pretty average guy and be a good defensive end if you follow the techniques and just contain the edge, contain the edge, contain the edge. Because once things bounce, it gets scary because you got corners, you got safeties, and it's 1-on-1, 2-on-1. You got stock blocks, a lot of action, you got a lot of space, and halfbacks know how to move, so you want to be able to box them in. And we try to play our game in between those tackles. And we focus really, really hard on containing this edge and wreaking havoc in here at the inside. We got our linebackers. We play them anywhere 4 to 5 off. Again, we got a Roger call. Roger call. So we got our Will on the left. We just call him Mike. We got our Mike on the right. No big deal. So we're gapped out. We know we got C's, B's, A's, B's. Simple. Makes perfect sense. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Halfback QB 6, 7. Now, depending on your terminology, whatever you want to call this particular player back here, for the sake of the drawing, we're going to call him a free safety. Now, any given year, you might have a free safety of variety of styles. You might have a kid that just wants the ball hawk and play deep third. That's fine. Or some kind of deep half. That's fine. You might have you may not have a heavy hitting safety back there, which is totally cool. You got to make your adjustment based off that. He does have to be able to play a little bit of run support. He can't chicken out of plays or anything, but he doesn't have to be a hammer. Again, the better defenses that I've had, this man right here was a hammer. Thinking back to a really good team I had a couple years ago, we had a stud here. This kid he'd hawk the ball. I mean, he loved playing deep third. He seemed to love playing deep third. He's pretty damn good at it. But boy, oh boy, when he had an opportunity to lay it out on somebody, he brought it, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So let's get it back out here. We got 1 receiver, 2 receiver. Let's just give it easy doubles for sake of alignment talk. Corners, You saw in the last video for the drawing, we're just putting them head up because we're not doing hashes and numbers. Assume we're in cover one. For the sake of alignment chatter, assume we're cover one. We're going to put, what do I want to call these guys? Okay, we got a Roger call. Let's just give it a Sam. He's our strong side safety. And let's give him an H. He's our weak side safety. Just keep our letters all straight. There are different names for different things, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. You might want to give him your logo and your whatever. It doesn't make a difference. So again, we're corner one. We're cover one. I'm sorry. We're head up. We're head up. When we're cover one, we got man eyes. That's all we're talking about here. You have no run responsibility. No run responsibility at all. QB, halfback. So we're cover one here. We're getting our run read. For deep third, number one rule, you cannot get beat deep. Even though I said you got to run read because we want to stop the run. We want to impose our will and be able to win the game in the trenches because guys can throw all day long, but I believe it was Joe Paterno who said when guys, or maybe it was Vince Lombardi, somebody, when you throw the ball, only one good thing can happen. That's the completion. Two bad things can happen: incomplete or a turnover. So we're good with the guys trying to put in the air on us because then again it helps our weekly prep. We got a team that wants to throw the ball 60% of the time. Cool, we can dedicate a lot of time to that as far as one-on-one drills and cover one, cover three, cover four, whatever it might be. We can dedicate everyone out here to just working that, and we still don't care. It still does not matter to us at all because we're trying to win the box, and we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We still got we're manned up. Now, there's a lot of intricacy. Did I say that? I don't know if I used that word right. A lot of detail in the technique that these guys are using where we're able to get numbers. A lot of coaches will talk about, oh, we're going to get outnumbered over here or get outnumbered over there, and this game could beat us there, this game could beat us there. Yeah, if all we did was stand still like a little mark on a dry erase board, yeah, we'd get beat if all of a sudden this little man took off on us and we just stood there like a couple dummies. Yeah, that's not how we coach the defense. So again, this is just alignment talk. This is our alignment in cover one. I don't want to get too far ahead of things. Gapped out, A, B, C, we're good to go. We got a free player reading it. If halfback were to release, he goes to this man here, assuming there's no blitz game. If he releases over here, it goes the opposite way. Piece of cake. If we have a blitz game on, he's automatically this man's, unless we're doing something different, but we're just talking base, simple, cover one, day one teachings. This is how we would teach it. Gap integrity. We want to know where we're supposed to be. We want to know how we line up, where our man is, this and that. Very, very simple. You can call it a 4-1. I'm sorry, you call it a 4-4. You can call it a 4-2-5. Doesn't make a difference. It's the same. Once the ball snaps, it's basically the same thing. And I feel that way about the three-man front as well. Now, let's rewind. I talked about why I like 4s over 3s. Very quickly, it's a simple reason. The secondary isn't all that different. You got to cover certain guys. Your coverage are the same. You got guys going here or there, whatever. It doesn't matter. But let's say you're running the very basic, I don't even know what the hell you guys call them anymore, stack or whatever it might be. And so maybe you got a Mike backer, whatever. Similar, right? You still got your 6. We had our 6 in the last picture. Everything else is the same. The safeties and the corners are all the exact same. Everything's the same. To me, what's different, incredibly different, is the angles that you now have to take in here with these men here. I understand there's different ways of coaching up the D-line when you're playing them head up. But I believe, again, you want to be successful year in, year out. And like I talked about in my intro video, keeping it simple is essential. It is absolutely crucial because you don't know. I mean, what kind of school are you at? What's your depth like? Do you have 2-way players, 1-way players? Are you got a kid maybe who hasn't played varsity and he's coming out of senior year, or maybe he's JV as a junior and he's like, hey, we think we can get something out of this guy. All of a sudden, you're going to have him trying to play 2-gap against a pretty decent lineup of tackles all year long. I mean, let's say you're at a disadvantage just personnel wise. He's gonna get chewed up. He's gonna have a miserable time trying to learn the position because when you're 2-gapping, you got to be able to get hands on guys and be able to read it left or right. It's a real pain in the ass for defensive ends. It's just if he works the wrong way, he's gonna get screwed up. He's going to be guessing. He's going to have doubt, and it's going to blow the read for the Sam, or well, it doesn't make a difference. You could play this. The same thing I talked about, disadvantage here, could be a disadvantage anywhere. It doesn't really matter. Also, so I hate that game. Let's just take those guys out. This kid here, the nose, has to be a beast. To me, there's two types of noses. You got to have that big, strong run stuffer, or that quick, maybe 180 wrestler that's able to penetrate and able to really cause a lot of damage in the backfield. And either way, he has to be selfless. He has to have no ego. He has to understand his position is damn near sacrificing himself every play of the game, taking on double teams, freeing up space for the Mike backer. And you might have that guy. You might be able to coach that guy up. But doggone, getting 40, 50 plays out of him every Friday night is a hell of a task. It's not that fun. I know guys, I'm sure there's guys out there that love it. There's been a lot of really good, traditional nose tackles out there. I still just say, why put him there? Still, why do it when he could be the same type of player playing that 2-eye that I just showed? Who cares? Move this man down. These guys are all athletes. I guarantee one of them can move there. Or maybe you got a strong kid on the bench. Maybe this kid's out of position anyway. To me, there's more balance in the 4-2, 4-2-5, 4-4, whatever, versus this, because you have to be very specific, and you have to commit a lot of time to it. I think I kind of addressed that in the first video, where I talked about we only have so much time with the guys. You got to make sure you're keeping it simple so that you're able to get really, really good at repping the basics. Because when there's fatigue, when there's stress, when emotions are high, they have to be able to lean on that foundation of basics, or nothing is going to matter. All the fun drills, all the cool coaching tips, none of that's going to make a difference if your guys are falling apart mentally when they don't have confidence in what they're doing. And I don't want to, I'm sure there's a ton of coaches out there that do a really nice job with this. It's just I'm not a big fan of it because of the reasons I just said. When you can just keep it, I believe, much more simple, but just teaching 2 to 3 techniques in the 4-man front that nearly, I've had a lot of guys, again, I'm thinking of our better years, where the years we were able to rotate more guys. I believe one year we were rotating, 8, 9, 10 guys along the D line, and they weren't all county guys, but it didn't matter because we didn't need them to be. We just needed them to line up properly, to get their hands where they needed to be, to keep their feet motoring, and that was basically the job. I don't want to minimize that it wasn't hard. It was hard as shit. You're still trying to make plays out there on the field, but it was just easier because you didn't have to play the mental game of reading outside zone, inside zone, double teams, depending on, just a lot there to read for 3 players. And if any of these guys are wrong, it's up to them to make it right. But that doesn't mean it's going to be success in the backfield. You know what I mean? So let's say, let's draw this out or explain what I mean by that. Often, we're just going to draw half of it. Give it here and here. If this man, they get hands on and they're taught to read that play, he's got inside zone. Depending on your scheme, he may sit on outside or he's trying to work and fight over his face. Either way, if he sits outside, he starts working for inside work. If he sits inside and starts fighting, he now becomes a fit player there. So your end has to read, start fighting the tackle. Your backer has to read off that D end because they cannot be stacked. Imagine, let's continue on here. There's some kind of work here. He starts to fight it. He starts coming with them. They're not reading each other, not focusing. He's peeking in the backfield. He's getting a misread, or he's just doing his thing. It almost doesn't matter because, again, it's his job to make him right. But now you're counting on 2 things to happen just to play 2 gaps correctly, where he didn't have to play that game at all if he just line up in the damn gap. I believe it's just that simple, and it's just so much of an easier fix to just coach it that way. He starts working. Now all of a sudden you have no contained player. You lost. In the last video I said, or earlier in the video I said, your DNs, they're contained. If you do that, you box it in, you're going to win that fight in the gap in between the tackles and the box. Here you could be in a situation where you're getting clogged up and you got 2 players now fighting for B's and A's, and you don't know what the heck's going on. It could be success. It could be failure. It's going to be inconsistent. That's for sure. So that's all. I'm sure guys do it well. I just don't like it because I just think it's much more simple to just coach the 4 down linemen to do different things. I also believe the nose tackle needs his own individual coach because it is so different than the DNs, or should be coached so different than the DNs. I just think it's a little more, excuse me, I don't want to say technical, but just different. And I think it demands its own coach. So hope that one's helpful.